I've got Travis Fletcher here, who I just actually met last week. Travis is the founder of Podcast Junkeez, which is where I have got my podcast out of right now. And I'm loving it. And Travis, it's so nice to finally meet you.
It's nice to be on your podcast. I cannot wait for what you have in store for me.
Well, the thing is, Travis hasn't ever watched one of my podcasts, so he really has no idea.
I literally just met you the other day. You're like, watch my podcast, and I've just been working the whole time, and now I'm here. So
he's giving me all these critiques on what I need to do, which are really monumental, but he hasn't seen anything that I've done.
I've been through a few podcasts and a few bad podcasts as well, so I can at least just out of the blue just give you good habits to give during your podcast.
So anyway, he had such monumental information, genius information, I might say. And I said, you've got to be on my podcast because he's only in town for a few days.
Oh, I leave tomorrow, actually. You got me right before I left.
See? So I didn't even want to put it out there because I didn't want everybody trying to vie for your attention. You know, I wanted to get you while you're here.
Of course.
So anyway, tell me, what don't I know about you now after just meeting you a brief bit? What don't I know about you?
Well, you probably know this, but I love working. I love what I do. There is no such thing as a work-life balance because it's just a work-work balance that I have a girlfriend occasionally, so I see her sometimes, which is cool. But yeah, no, I live and breathe what I do. I find creativity in workflow. I'm a creative person, but I love workflow. Like, if I could be creative in an efficient manner, that's like two things that I always try to accomplish.
Yeah.
I'm not a pure artist at heart, and I'm not a pure technician either, but I've kind of figured it out.
Now, clearly, your passion is podcasting. Is that correct?
I feel like I have a lot in me for a lot of what I want to do, but I think podcasting right now, I've dedicated my 20s and my youthful to build an industry that doesn't exist yet, you know?
Okay, and what is it about podcasting that struck your interest?
Podcasting, going back to kind of like the creativity and workflow, podcasting is the pound for pound, to use UFC terms, the best way to create content that resonates with an audience and in the least amount of time. So you're only spending an hour here at the studio, and you have virtually limitless amounts of little micro pieces of content and the main show itself that can resonate with your audience, which is pretty sweet. Otherwise, you're spending hours and hours editing, hours and hours scripting, hours and hours paying someone else to do it anyways. And then what's the point? So podcasting just seemed like a very logical step for me.
Wow, that's awesome. So now, who inspired you? Does anybody inspire you to do better, to be better in your craft here with podcasting?
Interesting. I have had a lot of mentors and inspiration across, but because I'm entering a world that I'm creating, I have to draw inspiration from many people in different aspects because I don't think there's any single person that has given me all of the information I need to do this. I'm not going into finance and there's not hundreds of years of stock market data. Like video podcasting and podcasting is like a general thing. It's just like it's a multiple of things. You have like the technical side, which is like what is the equipment and then the facts you need to create a podcast. Then there's the networking side, like getting to know the people to have a business, right? You can register an LLC, but if you're socially inept, like you're not going to be successful, right? Even if you are a perfect technician, someone's got to network you or someone's got to sell you. Then it's like the sales on top of that. So figuring out what people want from a product like this, from the perspective of like us selling time here at the studio, and then also what people want from a podcast, and a lot of and then lastly is educating people on what this is because it doesn't exist yet. Podcasting existed for a while, but not as a service. So I've had to draw from different places. But my business partner, I went into business with in Las Vegas. His name is John Orlando. If you guys are familiar with the famous singer from the 70s, Tony Orlando, he had a son at one point. His name is John. And, John's kind of grown up with Tony as as a younger kid, he had access to all these super famous people like Michael Jackson levels, like Frank Sinatra levels, and he's just kind of exposed to wealth in a different way. And as he started growing up, he kind of understood like what wealthy people and people with influence, like what they get out of life and what they want out of people and what they want out of things. Because, doing business with somebody with no money and doing business with somebody with a lot of money, the motivations are different. So he's had a PR firm for 10 years. He did a stand-up comedy opening for his dad for another 10 years until he realized he wasn't funny. I'm just joking. I'm not. And then like he kind of like he had small businesses like tanning salons and stuff. So he kind of understood like, business. But he also had like a huge background of just like what I call is putting deposits in the people bank, where, you do something nice for someone all the time, and not to like redeem it like points or anything, but like at a certain point, like if you just constantly give gratitude, give value out, like whenever you need somebody or without even trying, they're going to give it back to you. It's going to reflect some of that. So when I went into business with John, I was engineering his podcast at a different studio. And I was an intern there. I was really working very hard, and the studio did not treat me well at all. And so he's like, we should go into business. And, I figured out like he knows a lot of people in the industry. He can speak the big game. Like I couldn't sell a $10 hot dog if I wanted to a hungry man. Like now I feel like I can do a lot of the groundwork of educating people on a product or a service and then sell it to them and then convince them that it's something that they need. And generally it's easy because podcasting fills a gap. So
have you had a podcast yourself? Or
I have, actually. So I mean, podcasting wasn't a new concept. Growing up I was born in 98, so I'm 25 years old. So if the audience is a bit older, then you kind of think I'm a baby. But I grew up right when like the internet was just getting started. And by the time I was able to have a computer at like 8 years old, I was on YouTube and kind of looking at all these, older people making content and really having a good time. Then podcasting has always existed since the iPod came out. That's where the term podcasting comes from. Before it was just called internet radio.
Right.
So I started my first podcast when I was 16 called A Podcast. It was just called A Podcast. It was a terrible name, but the idea was it was a comedy improv podcast that me and my friend would just kind of create scenarios and kind of just talk about stuff. And then it evolved into a podcast called Collision Shack, which is all up there. There's a lot of inappropriate jokes on there. So if you like that kind of comedy, it's pretty fun. But then when I went to college, I kind of stopped doing it as much until I started doing it as a business. And then I kind of like fell into it and I kind of understood it because it's awesome. It's super fun. It's engaging. You have a great time every time you podcast. And I'm sure every one of your guests do. So I brought all of that knowledge and like into podcasting, but it kind of like, until I started interning at that studio, like video wasn't incorporated. It was just audio only. So I was really an audio only person. But then I went to college at UNLV in Vegas for cinematography and film, which is something I've always wanted to do. And then I kind of combined both loves together to create what, some people call vodcasting, which is a term that will probably never be used, but it's podcasting with video.
So is that different than vlog?
I think... No, I heard you talking like briefly on your last podcast about vlogging and stuff like that. Yes. Vlogging has existed for a while. Like blogging has been around since, the conception.
And blogging is what I read in the middle of my podcast, which now, starting with the last podcast, I'm starting to do a little bit more just from memory.
Yeah, let her know if you love
Travis's recommendation.
Hey, they can always read the full blog on your website.
But not a recommendation of having known anything or how great my blogs are when I read them to the
I'm sure I absolutely 100% believe that your blogs are a written masterpiece.
They were well thought out. I spent a lot of time thinking about the words I used. That's why I'm like so hesitant about wanting to not say them exactly, but...
You showed me some of your analytics. You have a lot of people who trust your opinion and actually go to these sites to read your blogs. And I think reading them in a format like this does a disservice to the amount of time. You want somebody to be able to reread and understand your points a bit more thoroughly, as opposed to just getting it just all at once and it being gone. I forgot the question. What was the question?
I don't know, but I was going to ask you, what is something that you think that most podcasters don't know or don't take advantage of?
Video. I think video is the answer.
And that was going to be my next question.
Oh, hold on. Your question was, what's the difference between a vlog and a podcast?
Yeah.
There is a definition of each. Like a blog is just somebody throwing words on a page, whether it's like super poetic or super just like casual. But then a vlog is the same way. Like in early YouTube, they're like video blogging is what it was called. A lot of people did it because it was a nice, easy way to just whip out your brand new iPhone 2 and then start recording yourself and then publish it online. But the idea of vlogging was the laziness from it. It's like day 23 of me existing and as me, and then it was kind of like a slice of life, something that like Kim Kardashian tried to do with reality, but was for real reality, and a lot of people resonated with that. And then podcasting is just just think that just now you've kind of built an environment like this that you see at the studio, and you're just, talking about a topic with a guest, an interview, or solo. You could just rant at a camera for an hour if you want to.
Okay, so what is your feeling? And I know how I feel already just after this is my 12th podcast. Do you like Zoom? Do you think what are the benefits to doing Zoom podcasts or live in-person podcasts?
I have a lot of debates with a lot of people about this. I really have debates all the time just because podcasting is such a built-in industry, like as an audio format for so long that it's almost like the industry itself is not receptive to change, where, you meet traditional marketing people and they have their channels of like, getting their word out there, which is like, not even Facebook, like it's billboard ads, it's print advertising, it's bus, ads, it's pre-roll ads on, YouTube. It's like all of these traditional forms of media. So whenever people approach podcasting in a unique way, they freak out because these marketing people who have been earning a living doing consulting on podcasting have been, they learned the tricks of the trade back in 2010, 2006 when it was really a thing. They learned how to monetize it. And then they just kind of rinse and repeat. You get a new client, you teach them how to monetize. That it goes successfully. Teach them how to monetize, you're successful. But since people have been kind of flocking to podcasting as a video medium, and as like it becomes more available through Spotify, who purchased the biggest podcast out there, which is Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan Experience, and with all of these different like companies investing more in their audio only / audio / video kind of community building, it's kind of increased. And so to get to your point about whether virtual or in person is better, by far, hand over fist, it's in person is better. Yeah. You get a connection with somebody that you just don't get like with over video. Like, yeah, FaceTiming is great, but it's a means to an end of just communicating. It's always been the second-rate thing. Perhaps with my generation and younger generations, they prefer virtual because they feel more comfortable. But at the end of the day, you just don't get that one-on-one vibe.
That was the recommendation that I was told from Mark Bernard, that one of my first guests. He said, in the podcast, he said, people fly in to do my podcast. He said, I never do unless they're live in my studio. And I've found, too, even though I've never done a Zoom, I can't get the kind of feedback I get from my stories and from my blogs,
right?
From having someone on Zoom. I'm not going to talk to somebody on Zoom and they're going to laugh and it's going to be funny. It's not going to be the same.
I mean, So at my Vegas studio, we have a network called Podcast Junkeez Network, and we adhere to our own rules very strictly. And one of those rules is, unless it's somebody that is impossible to get in the studio, they should never be virtual. Because we have an advantage, and I guess you guys too in Boca Raton here, but in Vegas, that's a destination place. So if at any point your wish list person is gonna visit the city at some point.
Exactly.
So instead of burning your relationship or that one favor on getting them on Zoom for 5 minutes and having a mediocre talk or even a great talk, wait, even if it takes years, wait until you can get them to be like, oh my God, they're in Vegas for a convention. Hey, can you just give me 30 minutes? Chances are they'll give you an hour and you'll build a better relationship with them anyways, if it's the one person you've been really hoping for. So in-person stuff is, easier said than done because, again, with this kind of work, speaking to a general audience, it's you got to be a people person. It's not, if you want to have a solo show with your co-host and that's it, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're doing an interview-based show, you have to have a networking mentality or a personable mentality, which, by the way, you have a fabulous mentality for this. Even without a guest, you can spout off some great information and talk for years. And that's what I love about you. And that's how I know that you're, regardless of knowing your analytics or what your content actually is, you will be successful and have been generally on Facebook, on your blog. It's because you bring so much personality to the content where it's not only thorough, but it's also unique. So I commend you on that.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, let's see. You made me forget what my next question was. Oh, I was going to ask you about monetization.
Oh, yeah.
Because we did talk about this the other day, and that seems to be, I have noticed kind of like a hush thing. Like you're not supposed to ask people to pay for their seat
Yeah.
to come sit in your studio. And I've had someone say this to me, like, oh, people pay, nobody asked me to pay to come into their studio to do a podcast. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Either they're going to sponsor you or I'm going to sponsor you. So do you have someone that's going to sponsor you? Because if not, I'm going to sponsor you. So let's,
I love that energy.
Is that wrong?
No, you're 100% right. And
it's like, who's paying for this? It's not free, right?
100%.
Unless I'm sitting in my closet in my bedroom shooting a video, and that's going to be worth that too, right?
No, absolutely. But I think so I always equate it to a lot of people have, generally speaking, like above and beyond podcasting, confidence issues. Like they think they're ugly, they think they're unattractive, they think that they can't get the job they want, they think that they can't like make X amount of dollars a year because they're certain race, creed, or background. There's so many of these self-limiting beliefs that people in general have, and some will argue that it's getting worse as time goes on with like the internet and the ability to compare yourself very easily to the entire world. There was a time where you could only compare yourself to, your high school class, and then you would marry your high school sweetheart, and then you'd have kids, and you wouldn't move, right? So now that Instagram exists, and now that all this online media, you're seeing the 10 out of 10, jacked guy who works out every single day and does nothing but work out, and then you're comparing yourself to somebody who's a single father who's like raising 2 kids. Like you can't. It's apples to oranges, right?
Right.
So. Generally, a lot of people have self-confidence issues, and they bring that into anything they do, especially if they're an entrepreneur. That's why you see so many podcasts and so many pieces of content out there that's just running through the whole, you got to pick yourself up by the bootstraps, so you got to like reframe your mind, so you got to wake up at 4 a.m. and, have a 4 a.m. club, you got to wake, all this BS stuff. But at the end of the day, like, value is a made-up thing. Value is something that we give to something, no matter what it is. The value of this microphone stand, the value of this microphone, the value of this TV, everything is just given to it. It's only $200 or the $400, this microphone, because the company who creates it marks it at $400. And if anybody wants to make money selling it, they got to mark it up, or they lose money by marking it down. And I believe that anybody who kind of tries to approach monetization on anything, they are marking themselves down. And that's because they're afraid of the sale, or they're afraid of a no, which it kind of goes back to the self-confidence. If you want to, in order to get that one yes, you got to have like 100 no's situation. Like same thing with dating, same thing with getting a job, same thing with anything worth keeping or worth, building. You're going to have a lot of rejection. So monetizing podcasting has been something that so many people, because the barrier of entry is so low in terms of like what it costs to do one. Like all you need is like, at this stage, just voice memos on your phone, and then you press record and you can upload it on Spotify really easy. It's super easy. So they say, oh yeah, my podcast isn't worth anything. I only have like 200 people listening, but that's just 200 people. Like people get millions of views on YouTube and hundreds of millions of views on TikTok. I'm nothing. And then they have the traditional podcast marketer who goes, cha-ching, pay me X amount of dollars a month and I'll get you on the blah, blah, blah. I'll build your audience. I'll get more people to listen to you. And all they're doing is just giving you the confidence that you should have yourself anyways. And they're monetizing it, which means that they're stealing your money, which maybe not stealing, but you're paying them to do it. And at a certain point, you've given away 60% of your revenue to somebody who is just saying, yo, yeah, you're good. I believe that if you approach podcasting with, you have value inherently because you have something that person doesn't. If the barrier of entry of podcasting is so easy, why don't you do it, Mr. Potential Sponsor? Oh, you're not, because it's extremely difficult and it takes a lot of time and effort to do it. Crazy. So that gives it inherently value. Absolutely. Having a podcast here at Podcast Junkeez Studios in Boca Raton takes you from like what would take years to get to this point instantly. And this instant amount of video production, the audio production, the way it looks, kind of like gives you the ability to have a bit more of that confidence. It's like getting a facelift and doing your hair and getting good clothes. Like that's what this is. So for people who join Podcast Junkeez Studios, and even yourself, or just have whatever they have, somebody's willing to pay for the exposure you bring. And at the end of the day, it's not just, you're not making podcasting for nothing. You're not going to create this podcast and just keep it in your folder and just watch it whenever you're bored. It's not, that doesn't exist. There's distribution, which is like YouTube, which is TikTok, it's Instagram. So because you're distributing it and you're creating content, and as much content as you make, whether it's like 7 clips an episode, so you have an episode coming out every day, like that, you're doing work that someone else doesn't do. So if somebody wants to tap into that in any way, it should be worth something. It might be worth nothing in the beginning because you just need to prove to yourself that it's a product people want. But very quickly, you'd realize that marketing companies, big companies like Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Comcast, like these huge conglomerates spend hundreds of millions of dollars so that someone else will just get their name out there. Right. So now think about that. Like they, instead of creating internal content that resonates with their audience, they'd rather pay a marketing company to create content for them that they don't know anything about the company, and now they are selling that to people who also don't know anything about the company. So like there's this disconnect of kind of brand to consumer or brand to like interpretation. Right. So podcasting is a great way to talk to a specific audience with a spokesperson. You know, there was a time where to buy a spokesperson, you have to pay them millions of dollars a year for like 3 or 4 commercials. Like Flo from Progressive, she makes millions of dollars a year. And it's because people trust her just as a brand identity. And now Flo can go on podcasts and monetize her personality just by existing.
So,
go ahead.
Ben, I think it's blog time.
Is it blog time?
I think it's blog time, Ben. Okay, so this brings up something that I blogged about years ago, and the blog subject was called "Afraid I'm Gonna Write About You."
Okay.
So now, what do you think? When I'm podcasting, and I'm podcasting about certain people that I come into contact with. Same situation goes though. I don't bring up anybody's real name if I'm talking about them in any way that's not flattering, you know. And in my blogs, I used to put pictures and scribble out their faces. My dates would hate that if they wanted the exposure. But anyway, so I wrote a blog about, you know, do you think you're going to be on my podcast? Okay. And my podcast is about being Tracy. It's not about being anybody else. Okay. So most people say they enjoy my blogs. Some want to be in them and others don't. I respect everybody's privacy. I'm not here to out anyone. It is called Being Tracy. It's not about being anyone else. So I actually met what sounded like a great guy when I was in South Beach. And I called him Mr. Incommon because we had so much in common.
Oh, really?
We met on a dating app, and we talked and talked and talked on the phone one day. He even had 4 daughters like me.
Wow.
You know, I mean, like we had so many crazy things in common. Like he loved to travel. He's spontaneous like me. He was married for a long time like me. He'd love to get married again like me. I mean, crazy stuff, right? And I'd never felt so much in common with someone before as I felt with this man over the telephone.
Oh, this was all over the phone.
It was over the telephone.
Wow.
Yes, we hadn't met in person yet. So he did his research on me, right? So I told him where he could find research on me. And so after our 45-minute conversation, he went and texted me that he went to my blog and checked my blog out.
Oh, dear.
And he said that he thought that I was just too out there and that he didn't want to have anything to do with me. He said, maybe sometime we can meet as friends. And I told my blog, I said, well, geez, I don't usually meet people as lovers, but you never know. That could happen, you know? But I mean, of course, we're going to meet as friends sometime and talk about it.
Yeah, at least at first.
But I was
first
like,
date stuff, right?
He was like, basically, good luck, have a nice life. I don't want my kids or my family to be anything a part of your blog. Story, okay?
Interesting.
And so then I was really embarrassed and sorry that I had spent all of this time texting him back to try to change his mind because I thought I had so much in common with Mr. Incommon, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, like I told him one Forbes millionaire that I met, who's a friend of a friend, who started up 52 companies, researched me before we went to dinner at Smith & Walensky. He went to my blog and said that he thought that I should take my show on the road. He said, he thought that I should be a comedian and use the blog material as my material.
Absolutely,
you know?
100%.
Yeah. So anyway, well, this is what I'm doing now, right, with this podcast. Like, I wanted to. I studied radio and TV in college at Indiana University, and I that's what I wanted to do until I found out, and I told this on my first podcast, that I had to take Spanish. I had to take Spanish, so I changed my degree from radio and TV to education because I didn't want to take any more Spanish. But
You had
then
to take
as
a
things
language
do,
course.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But then as things do, people's lives change, and I ended up moving to Panama anyway and had to learn Spanish anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
how things
it's
do,
like-
right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, I've taken like 4 years of Spanish and I don't know anything past the conjugations, you know?
See, well, I learned Spanish now because I had to in Panama. But and as life would have it, here I am now after my kids have developed. I've raised 4 daughters. You know, I've done the family thing, and now just as life would have it, this year I found myself back in the
saddle.
right here. This is what I wanted to do in college.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you just found you took a detour. I wouldn't even call it a detour. I would just say you just followed your passion. You probably had such a good time being a mother, such a good time
I
doing
did.
the early education.
I really did.
And then and now you're here still having a great time. Isn't
Yeah.
that funny how that works?
Yeah. And so, anyway, I also told on this blog how Mr. Baseball Guy, do you remember Baseball Guy in one of my previous shows? He was a guy that he had a family, he'd come up from a family of writers. And he said about me, he said, well, writers have got to write. You know, so I was saying, you know, in my blogs, I always make sure that the material's okay with the person that I'm writing about, as long as it's not something like the relationship had gone awry.
Sure. Yeah, you wait a few months and then you make that post.
You know, I mean, like, and if it had gone awry, well, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, so anyway, I was just, you know, very clear and honest. My podcast is about my life, my experiences, the funny things that happen to me that I think that everybody can have in common with me, like Mr.
Absolutely.
Incommon,
Mr. Incommon.
like Mr. Incommon.
That's so. Are you Mrs. Incommon? But like,
I'm Mrs. Looking for Incommon.
Oh,
Am
interesting.
I looking for Incommon or?
I wonder like what he labeled you, like Mrs. Blogger, you know, like Mrs.
I don't know.
Mrs.
I
Public.
don't know. I remember he lived off West Avenue and
Are you here, guys? West Avenue. Let's find this
Waverly
guy.
over there,
Let's
the
tell him
Waverly
what he's
West
missing out on.
Avenue.
Mr. Incommon, Mr. Incommon.
Yeah, paging everyone whose name's Mr.
Paging
Incommon.
Mr. Incommon over in the Waverly on South Beach.
That story reminds me of like, have you seen Sex and the City? Like any of those
I have
series?
seen it, but I
the
didn't
whole
really follow
concept of
it.
the show, which by the way I have not. I've only seen little bits because my girlfriend like binges it all the time. It's like basically like she has the exact same issue. Like most of her blogs are about this ex that she left a long time ago, and on the reboot, you know, spoilers, like he comes back, but he's like, yeah, I left because all of this is about me. Like, you know, like all of your blogs are about me. And he's like been reading it passively, like about all the BS. And he's like, I didn't realize you felt this way. And I didn't realize I was treating you this way. So it's like, in a way, it's more like a good debrief session. If you break up with someone, you write a blog, honestly, it's the best, report card I could get. I wish that if, whenever, someone dumped me, I had like a nice, what I did wrong list to really kind of distill that.
Well, at the end of my blog, the way I ended it was, I guess, like they say, you have to listen and trust that the wrong people will remove themselves from your life. So you just have to let them go.
Yeah.
That was the whole story of my blog, and how it ended was, okay, well, Mr. Uncommon, I guess you're not that uncommon.
How do people search your archive on your website for your blogs?
Search my archive?
Yeah, so if they want to find and read that blog, how would they find it?
It's at www.beingtracy.com.
Is there a search bar to search the keywords of the blog?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm big time.
Yeah, oh, I know. I'd imagine. Well, because I mean, like, it'd be interesting.
I don't really know. I'm not technical at all. But one of my clients, when I worked for the American Chiropractic Magazine, and I still do, it's my family business. But for Foot Levelers, a man that worked for Foot Levelers, we've got a chiropractor over here in the wings. He set up this blog page for me, and then also set up my page on Facebook, which is my Being Tracy page, because he said that all my people from my blog were going to spin off onto my social page.
Yep. Vice versa.
Which is what has happened. And like I don't know if you were here to hear me say this, but I mean, it was hacked after I was reaching 6.5 million. And, people have told me that, hey, don't worry about it. You're going to come back even stronger. I think that you told me that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is. It's going to be stronger and stronger, and I'm so excited. And
yeah, the content hasn't changed. I mean, like, you've never lost your inauthenticity. So, like, that is, people are starving in 2023 for authenticity. Like, they don't trust the news stations. They don't trust the YouTubers. They don't trust the Instagram filters. They want authenticity, and they want the true version of everyone. They want the person they're seeing on platforms like podcasting or the blog to be the person they meet. They prefer that hand over fist. The Hollywood type is going to disappear slowly, and you're going to start seeing an injection of like young people who, Tom Holland, right? For example, is a Spider-Man, right? He has a podcast. He goes on podcasts, and people are shocked of the stories that he tells them of how, I want to use the word grooming, not sexually, but grooming in terms of like what they do to make you the Hollywood star to be. Like anything that is manufactured before the internet is manufactured to be inauthentic. And everything afterwards is manufactured to be more authentic, because that's what's the uniqueness of the internet. You get what people truly are. You find the groups for all those weird quirks that you do or fetishes. Like, you find people who are genuinely themselves, not this kind of like Maxim magazine model cover, or this, reporter that's just reading a teleprompter, or this actor who's just did God knows what to get to the position that they're in. So that's, this medium, your blogs, this podcast. It's good content, guys.
It all works.
Authentic.
It all works. Well, this one guy. So then now I've had these men coming up from the past, that I've corresponded with for like a year over the internet. Haven't met them, and he did say to me, one thing I know for sure is that you are real.
Yeah.
And I still haven't met the guy. I still haven't met him. We had a date last Wednesday, and I, still fell through. It didn't happen.
Have you ever had anyone say, like, try to use your real as like an offensive thing to you? Like, oh my God, you're so real. Like, and because like you tell how it is. Like, I'd imagine like a lot of people try to be like, they probably don't like you because they can't be their fake selves around you, because then you just see right through it. And then whenever you respond authentically instead of playing the the BS haha hee hee haha game.
Yeah.
Has that happened?
That happens. I thought you were going to say, have I ever had anybody take advantage of the fact that I had the blog and then be mean to me?
Well, let me ask that question.
I write in the blog about them.
Oh my God. Okay, have you had? Okay, tell me that story.
That's a whole nother story. Is
that a different podcast topic?
I think that's a whole nother podcast.
I'm looking forward to it.
Because that has happened, though. And I mean,
didn't you get recognized recently for your podcast?
Oh, yeah, I sure did. I was at, the other day I was at, what was the name of that place? Bow Campers?
Yeah.
Bow Campers in Boynton Beach. And I was just freaking sitting there by myself at the bar. I actually had gone out because I thought I had a free day after showing property in Pompano. And so then I just thought, well, a girlfriend of mine works over at Fishtails, so I went over there. That wasn't really going on. I said, where else can I go? They said, well, there's a place you can go to watch sports, and it's called Bow Campers over here. I had never been over there, so it's in Fort Lauderdale. I went over. Have you been there?
No.
It's an amazing place, actually. It has TVs and paintings on the walls.
Oh my gosh.
And it's indoor, outdoor, and there's a ton of people over there watching sports. It's super fun.
Oh, wow.
But so I went in there, sat at the bar. Usually I go in and I case the joint, look around for the handsome single guys,
Which is just crawling with handsome single guys, I'm sure.
Sit by. And I went and saw these four men sitting with this one seat in the middle. So I went and sat at the seat in the middle, and turned out the three guys on this side were all real nice, but they were all married. And the guy over here, I don't know. I just
I didn't feel it.
I just wasn't feeling
Listen,
it.
Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't.
Didn't feel like talking to him. So I kind of just, watched the game, started posting on my Facebook and stuff, and then sat there. By about 2 beers into it, I'm like, what am I doing just sitting here drinking beer by myself? Like, what am I doing? What's my plan? So then somehow someone reached out to me and said that they were at Two Georges. That's how I ended up over at Two Georges. And I didn't know where that was. And they said, there's a band over there. So I said, wow, that sounds great. So I paid my bill. I'm walking out, and this isn't the first time this has happened to me. Someone stops me as I'm walking out holding my beer and says, hey, is that you on that podcast? Aren't you on that podcast? And I'm like, Well, yes, I am. I am on that podcast. And I said, "Are you do I know you? Have we met?" And he's like, "No, I don't know you, but I did see you sitting across the bar." He said, "I wasn't sure if you were with that other guy that's next to you." He said, "But if you're not, come on in. I want to get you a drink. Let's talk about it, And anyway, he was real interested in the podcast until I think I wouldn't keep sending him. I wouldn't send him any pictures of me. I'm like, "Look, this is the way."
Oh, this was all
now.
over like message.
No, this is in person. This is in person.
He wanted pictures of you when you were in person?
No, I guess I'm skipping ahead.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I went out with him to have a drink with him at the bar.
Naturally.
And then I'm halfway through the beer, and I don't know. I don't
Would
know.
you say this guy is Mr. Uncommon? Because you guys you have nothing uncommon.
Maybe he watches my show. I don't know. But he was a super nice guy. But I just was. I was really excited to go hear some music, right? And so I just said that I was gonna go listen to some music and thank you, And then so I don't know. He had been interested in maybe having one of the shows sponsored by him or something like this.
Wow.
His medical equipment, and I don't know.
Hey,
but then
money talks.
But then
Talks.
the chat started. Then when I was like, okay, I'll send you some, rates or whatever we can do for you. And then he was like, okay, send me a picture of you. And I'm like. I'm just not really in that spot right now. Like, I'm not, I'm building my business.
You should send a picture of just like a zoomed in picture of your cheek. It's like, here's a close up for you, winky face, and then just like a picture of your cheek,
I'm just, that's not the first time that's happened to me this week. Like, a lot of men, I don't know, it's like
there's something about you have like the it factor. Maybe it's just like, maybe it's your personality. People just love and you attract people to you. Maybe it's just like you're just a really awesome person, and perhaps like, they see your value and they see that, you got something going on. They want to talk to you.
I think it's that they're lazy.
I
think it's that they're lazy. I don't know. They don't want to meet in person. This is another thing that came up this week when I was talking to my girlfriends. It's like, they don't want to meet in person. Send me a picture of you. It's like these people that I meet out and stuff like that. Then they're like, okay, send me. I don't have time.
What you should do next time
is on Facebook.
Send an actual picture of you. You.
Or just the letter U, or just like do you know
Send
how
him an actual picture of
That's
you.
a good idea. That's a good idea. Send a picture of you. You.
Yeah, I want to see what's gonna happen next time. Next time.
Because seriously, like 3 times this week that happened to me where a conversation ended because the guy's like, "Send me a picture of you." And I'm like, I'm like all over the place.
If you search your name on Google, does it come on Google Images? Does it come up? Then search your name on Google, copy the link that pops up with the search term, and send that to them, and it'll bring them to Google search of your name, and then there you go, a bunch of photos of you.
Well, that
will satisfy that. Have you heard of the concept of a parasocial relationship?
Parasocial?
It's it's a phenomenon that's happening. The more internet has kind of been existing, and now a lot of content creators exist. And
tell me about it.
So a parasocial relationship, okay, let's think back. So back in the day, a relationship you'd have with somebody you don't know would either be like a politician or someone like an actor. But at the end of the day, like you saw them on the screen. You enjoy their content, and then that's the last you see of them. It's only on the television or only on the broadcast or only on the print magazine, and that's it. So it's a very curated version of that person. So you wouldn't really feel like personally attached to them because you only got what was being said. Like, oh my God, this ex so-and-so, Clark Gable's so beautiful and handsome, and the only reason you say that is because he's the heartthrob in every movie. But now, parasocial relationships have been getting worse because of the vlogging, because of the blogging, because of the content, because now people are no longer curating content for the internet that's actually filtered. It's like authentic, genuine content. So now when people consume or become fans of those people, they are consuming everything about them. They know your child's name, and not even because they're stalking you. They just know your child's name. They know what you like. They know your habits. They understand your mannerisms. They're laughing with you, but you're not. You're just creating the content.
No.
So it's called a parasocial relationship because they feel like they know everything about you.
That happens. People say on my Being Tracy page, you're top. That means what my sister says.
You're top.
She calls me top. I'm not the oldest of 6 kids. I'm the top.
You're the top.
And that's like from one of my videos. So people are saying that to me on my Being Tracy page. Oh, you're the top. You're top.
Yeah, but it's
weird.
It gets weird in interactions like that guy you met where he's like, "Oh my God, I've seen your podcast," or I'm a fan of you, because now they're coming to you knowing everything about you that you've shared, which is almost everything, and now you know nothing about them. Yeah. So it's this weird
it's kinda
dance.
Scary. It's
scary. It's absolutely scary, and like that. Congratulations, you've crossed the threshold. Like now, when you start having those problems, you have to have immense empathy and understanding that these people think that you're best friends, because you are. You like a lot of times like content creators take people out of depression. They take people out of bad situations. They allow them to escape. So in many scenarios, like content does heal people. But so whenever this person comes up to you like, I love your podcast, I know everything about you, your dog's name, blah blah blah. You're like, oh my God, so what's your name? And then you interact, and then
well, when I meet people, I always put their picture on my phone and I take notes. So the first thing I said to this guy was, "Oh, did I meet you? Do I have your name in my phone? Did I take our picture?" And he's like, "No, I just saw you on the internet."
Yeah, so you start to text them, and do you know how like when you text someone and then it kind of like goes like super far on your list, so you never really see it? It's like an unknown number. Have you ever like typed in someone's number again to like text them, and then their previous conversation comes up and you realize that you've already met them?
Yes.
Has it ever happened where they're like,
or they're blocked? That has happened to me.
They're like, weird, I can't call you. It's just it's not working.
Going through. That happened on a date one time in South Beach.
Okay, tell me about that. Let's talk about that.
That happened on a date one time in South Beach. I was pulling out of my parking lot, and this guy was like, I just kept calling you. I don't know why. And I was like, you're calling me. I said, it's not going through. And then finally, he told me his phone number, and we're driving off my parking lot, and I realized I've got him blocked in my phone. That's why it wasn't going through. And I believe this was the same guy that rented a Lamborghini and that told me he rented a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to turn me on.
Hey, he has $400.
I was like, whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm ready to go back.
Red flag.
Take me back.
Yeah, let me just hoist this red flag. Really quick,
like red flag alert. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was how that happened.
I'm glad you had that experience, because I'm usually the person people block. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I think you are joking.
No.
Just from the little I know of you, you seem like a very.
I actually don't block anybody's number, because if they're want to be annoying enough to like do that, I feel very humble. It's almost like, like I will annoy them back. Like it'll become a bit. Like there are times where like I'm not interested in somebody and they won't leave me alone, that I'll just I'll make sure that they block me.
Well, I only
it's really
block
fun.
people that are insulting. If they're insulting, or if they're just somehow like disrespectful, those are the people I block.
Well, I mean, you're fielding hundreds of people. I probably have like maybe 2 people a year that hate me. It's the difference between a man and woman. Yeah. You get a lot more inbound. I have to do a lot more outbound.
Maybe that's it.
Definitely.
Well, I'm not sure, but maybe it's time for the real estate minutes.
Ooh, show me some houses.
Let me tell you what's going on right now in real estate. It's so exciting. I'm going to read this by bank rate. I'm going to read it because I don't memorize what
Listen,
bank
it's your
rate
podcast.
says, okay? But with mortgage rates and home prices both historically high and inventory tight, many prospective sellers and hopeful buyers are feeling nervous about today's housing market. The median sales price for an existing home in the U.S. was a hefty $394,300. Now, that's down from what it is here in Florida. In Florida, it's about $100,000 more. But as of September 2023, the third month of the year, over-year price increases in a row. And as of late October, the average 30-year mortgage rate had hit 8.01% higher than it's been in more than 20 years, which is amazing. Home prices, mortgage rates, and inventory levels will all shape housing affordability in the coming year. The experts' prediction for the 2024 housing market. Low levels of inventory mean that sellers continue to have the upper hand in the housing market. High mortgage rates and steep home prices are dissuading would-be buyers, which we already kind of knew that, right? But if rates were to drop in 2024, that would be the spur the market for both buyers and sellers. Because what I keep telling everybody is, if the rates start to go down, you better buy the property you want now at this price, because if the rates start to go down, everybody's going to want your property. Everybody's going to want your house, and they're going to be overbidding the same way that we had before. And so if you can get in your property right now in a good deal, you feel good about it, just get in, get that property at a great price, and then you can refinance, okay? So anyway, send me or leave me a message if you want me to help you find a realtor in your area, if you want us to help you buy, sell, invest, commercial real estate, residential real estate, whatever you want, okay? I'm here to help you with all of your real estate needs. Tracy Bush Pate. My number's on the screen at Keller Williams Worldwide. Please ask for me. Leave me a message, 561-245-4000. And please let us know how we can find you to do this wonderful podcast that I'm doing right now. Travis? How do we get a hold of you?
How do you get a hold of me? Guys, listen, I'm everywhere. Just look at my name, Travis Fletcher, on anything. If you want to see pictures of me, I will send them to you. Or you could just go to Google Images and type in Travis Fletcher. A lot of them. You can find me at Travis Fletcher on all platforms. Twitter, X now, formerly known as Twitter. Instagram, I'm on there. But guys, listen. This is my company. It's Podcast Junkeez Studios. We're giving people opportunity. If you're curious about what a podcast is or have any questions, contact my main man, Ben at podcastjunkeez.com. You can email him or go to the website, podcastjunkeez.com. Ladies, gentlemen, it's awesome. And thank you for having me on your podcast. I appreciate every moment of it.
I knew that you had so much information.
Listen, I mean, I could do 14 more rounds of this, and you can give me specific scenarios, but I would be beside myself if I didn't see that you would succeed. And you're asking the right questions. You're doing everything you need to do. And I will tune in now. I've been on an episode. I at least have to watch at least 5 more.
Well, listen, so please subscribe to my podcast. Any kind of love you can give it on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Hit an emoji, make a post, share it. If you can think of someone else that might enjoy it, anything will help me because I want to get my message out there. And it's really in the YouTube algorithm, the most attention you get on your posts and your podcast, that's the most attention you're going to be able to get from your viewers. And
do you post the clips to your social media?
I post everything.
Guys, you want to help her more than anything? Go to her social media and just click that repost button. You comment on just the short clips. It's so much easier to consume podcasting when you're watching a minute of it. And this stuff is
all
great.
Over the place. Instagram. I'm even freaking on Twitter now. I think I have 2 followers on Twitter.
Woo, let's make it 3. Come on, how many people are in here right now? Let's make it 4 or 5.
I got a ton of them. I've got a ton of 3 pages on Facebook. So I'm pretty much out there. And now I'm on TikTok too since my page got hacked. My other page got hacked. So I got it. Well, let's go on TikTok. So.
Hey guys, if you guys want to get rid of the parasocial relationship, put it in the comments. Say hello, and then she'll say hi back, and that's called a genuine relationship, as opposed to just viewing it.
Genuine relationship, just like genuine Being Tracy. Thanks for coming back, guys. We'll see